How do I tell my story in 10 minutes? I'll try. So I'll go very quickly. Try to go with me, all right? So most of you will know that today our biggest challenge is socioeconomic transformation, especially Africa, where I think Africa could actually be called the land of adversity. There is so much adversity. You're always almost swimming against the tide. Our government is doing its best to put in place policies and mechanisms to help us and to create jobs, but they're not coming up fast enough. Our biggest challenge today is youth unemployment. And here in Africa, especially, we have this huge population youth bulge, where the population, we just cannot create jobs fast enough. And when they're educated and unemployed, that's when Gen Z gets invented. Your education, all you are doing is building up your IQ, which is built by using your brain. Intellectual. You're trying to build your capacity. The more books you read, the more people interact with, you build your IQ. Most of you know that the average person is between 85 and 140, and that's quantified. The alternative is EQ. Now, it's not talked about as often, but it's also very important because those are skills that you develop along the way, largely from your peers. You learn to say certain things. You learn not to say certain things. You find somebody, oh, what happened to you? You become so fat. Bad EQ. Ugandans love that. Anyway, what is important to succeed, to keep growing, is to keep doing things consistently. However small the things are, small steps, if you do them consistently, it will get you there. If you do one small thing per day, you will only do one. If you put 0.1 on that multiplied for 365 days, you get 37. So a small amount of input gives you a very big impact. And that's how the pyramids were built. That's why I'd use this slide. So, you know what's IQ? You know what's EQ. What I'm introducing to you, some already know, is RQ. RQ is just as important. You need to balance your EQ and your IQ, but what is lacking for success, especially in the entrepreneurial world, because too many people go into business, they fail. They get up and say, I'm going again. They fail. They try this one. They fail 3 times and they're done. I'm out of it. I need a job. When I'm looking for a property to buy, I look at 90 houses before I buy one. 90. Someone sees 1 or 2 houses, let's buy this. You've got to do the homework. You've got to keep going. When you fail and you are rejected, you'll be rejected so many times, you don't give up. You got to keep trying. The banks turn you down. The sponsors turn you down. All the people that promised you, the government lets you down, but you've got to keep going. You need that resilience in you, the inner metal that makes you succeed. That is so important, especially in the business world. To me, it has become very clear, especially in the last 5 years. If I want to be remembered for one thing, it should be that guy was resilient. I ask many people, what is the most important day in your life? The day you are born, you grow up, you study, you get a degree, you get married, life goes on, we go old, we all die. That's for sure. One day you will die. What was the most important day in your life? I hear many people say, my birthday. I got married. The day I had my baby, the first baby. What is the most important day in your life? You know, when you die, there's a number. Born on this date, died on this date. In between, there's a dash. That dash is your life. That's that whole curve that I've just shown you. What did you do? What was the most important day in your life? For me, and I hope for you too, it's the day you found your purpose. You need purpose. If you focus on that, and the earlier you get your purpose, the better. I've met people who are 40, 45, they're about to retire and they're still looking for their purpose. You need to find your purpose. I was lucky by 13, 14, I found my purpose. And I'll tell you why. When I was 13, those are the days of Idi Amin. Idi Amin destroyed our country, set us back so many years, very hard to rebuild. He killed 500,000 people. My dad was one of those victims. An innocent man, I was at a tender age where he was the best thing in my life. My role model. I loved him so much. And all of a sudden, he was brutally taken out of our life. So brutally, it left me in shock for more than a year. I cried every night. I asked God, why? Why? But that's life. Later, there was nothing in this economy. There was a problem. There was no sugar, no soda, no beer, no cigarettes. Everything was being smuggled in. Now we had a problem and we couldn't get sugar. I knew where sugar was. We had lived in Kenya and I knew where to go. So I went to Kenya. I got this sugar on an overnight bus. My mom didn't know where I'd gone. 2 days I was away. She was worried I'd been killed. Came back with a bag of sugar and I could sell that sugar. And the people who bought the sugar were hugging me. Thank you, paying me 4 times the price of the sugar. I found my purpose. The next day I was back on the bus to bring sugar. Sugar was my first business. I got into that. I tried Forex. I tried soap when Mukwano Industries began selling soap. People need soap. So I found a niche market. I had to train my eyes to look for the need, to see the opportunities, to see what is lacking, to see what can I do better. And then I train my mind to solve that problem. The two things you have to train: your eyes to sniff out the difference. Whenever you walk into a place, can I do this better? You walk into anybody's business, can I do it better? Into a travel agent, customer service, the food. So that's what got me going, to look for a niche customer service, providing a product that people want. I tried cars. In those days, bringing a car from Japan was magical. Everyone, where's this car from? And you could sell it 4 times the price or 5 times the price you bought it. Then everybody discovered cars. I got out of cars. I kept moving on. At school, when there was no power, I'd supply the candles in every classroom, in every dormitory, 4 or 5 candles, and I invoiced the school, and they give you money with a profit. So it was now in my DNA. You've got to supply where there's a need. That's customer service. And on top of that, they are grateful. Then I got into a nightclub, and I must tell you quickly a story about this nightclub, how I got into a nightclub. I was 27. I just come back from the UK. I'd been studying, and I met this girl. She was beautiful. There was only one nightclub, Angenois. We went to this nightclub. When we were getting in, the men that were there, big burly men, they were frisking the girls. I said, there should be a lady to frisk the girls, not men. Those times you are thoroughly frisked to make sure you don't have an arm or anything like that. But these men were going a step too far. It was very intrusive. And I objected. I said, you're not going to do that to my girlfriend. You must do something better, somebody else. And they said, you think you're clever? You don't get in. So we stayed with a group of my friends. They said, calm down. They're just going to frisk her. And she told me, don't worry, it will be okay. They put their hands everywhere trying to frisk her to teach me a lesson. I was so angry that night. I didn't dance even once. We sat in the nightclub till after 1. I went home. I was angry, but very resolved. I will open a nightclub. Within 30 days, I only had $25,000 in my life. I put all the money in a nightclub. I got the drinks on credit, everything on credit. We had to open that Friday night. From that night, for the next 5 years, I ruled Uganda. That nightclub was number 1. It was rocking. I got to meet so many people. I made enough money to go back and buy Angenois and fire that guy. That was rewarding. The realization for me was, you can actually do anything you want in life. It's got to be in you, the determination, the fire to do what you want. Anyway, I made a bit of money here and there, but never big money. And I'd said I'll not marry until I've made $100,000. So I made $100,000 and I married that beautiful girl. Fantastic. But after the wedding, 0. I was down. Had to start again. Anyway, my big break came when MTN came to Uganda. People didn't believe that mobile phones would sell in Africa. People didn't have the money. I started selling mobile phones, and it was interesting. Safaricom opened in Kenya. I went to Kenya. I did the same thing, 52 shops. Till today, I'm the biggest dealer in Kenya, Safaricom, the biggest dealer in Uganda. That was Telecom. That was my big break. Why? Because it found me ready. Be ready for the best opportunity in your life. It must find you ready. It won't wait for you. You grab it. That's what Telecom's about. That's what it taught me. And I kept growing from there, and I had to diversify my portfolio after I did the Telecom. I went to Nigeria with MTN. I made a lot of money. I was just rocking. Monday to Friday in Nigeria, I come here for the weekend. Before I knew it, I blinked. And you blink twice in Nigeria, everything's gone. I lost everything. $5 million disappeared like that. And to me, that was the most money at the time. You have to focus. I said, let me focus on East Africa. It's easier to manage my business. And now I still run the Kenya and Uganda business because of focus. I had to diversify my portfolio. I got into hotels. Hotel business is not as hard as most people think. What is it? And I'll share the secret. Hotel business is being able to wash the bed sheets properly. These guys come in, they stay in your room, they pay you $100, $200. They don't take the bed sheets. They don't take the towels. Just wash them. Next guest. Then next guest. Next guest. Before you realize it, every day you're making $20,000 because you've got numbers. That's the hotel business. People think it's a humongous business, but we're really in the laundry business. Cleaning up. Giving people good food, being customer polite, you're most welcome, courtesy. Come on, that's not rocket science. I see people with PhDs struggling. They don't own a house. They don't own a car. What was the point of the IQ? Get into the business world, create jobs, tap into the natural things that are there. People need these things. The needs are basic. Office buildings. I needed an office now that was dignified. I've rented out. The oil and gas companies came. Apartments, high-end apartments. That was useful to diversify the portfolio. But now I'd felt I'd reached a certain level and I wanted impact. How can I touch other people's lives? So I was looking for what is missing in our country. And there was so much power outages. So I wanted to get into the business of making electricity. It's not too much rocket science. Electricity was discovered more than 100 years ago, but so many of our people didn't have electricity. Now, they go and build a dam or do a solar project. I did one for 10 megawatts, but that wasn't contributing enough to the grid. So I set up a 90 megawatt power plant in Tororo, where I feed the power to the grid. The beauty of this plant is once you put everything in place, the system is working. Whether I am sleeping or I'm on travel, some income is coming your way. Maybe 2 cents, American cents, or 3 cents, but some income is coming your way. So you are helping so many people. They are grateful for the service you provide. It's valuable to the economy, and you are making a little bit of money on the side. That was why I got into power. Then I realized also the distribution was a problem. So I got into Umeme, the company that distributed most of the power in this country. For the last 15 years, we've just ended our concession, where I was the chairman and one of the bigger investors. And we distributed power to 97% of the population. Many people abused you and hurled insults at you when we just began. By the time we ended, nobody was saying abusing us or insulting us. The new people who have taken over now, they are feeling the heat. It wasn't as easy to run a company like that. I brought all the staff, 3,000 staff, to this very hotel, and I talked to them in groups. And anybody I found with corruption, I will fire you. You may sue me, we shall deal in court. But I didn't want corruption, and I brought it down. Those changes had to be personal. You've got to be involved in whatever business you're doing. They feel it's you. Then every driver knows how you're moving. I drive around, I see Umeme vehicle. If you drive not badly, I come next to you. Then they realize chairman is here and they fall in line. So you can't make a difference. All these things by taking that initiative, being pragmatic, being practical. Uganda discovered oil. Our government was struggling to get a refinery. Pipeline is being built to Tanzania to take out our oil, but nobody wanted the refinery. I attended many government meetings and they didn't want a refinery. And the refinery was going to cost this government $4 billion. How do we pay that back after you spend $3 billion on a pipeline and spend $3 billion exploring that gas? I said, give me a chance. Let me build a mini refinery. $500 million is all I need to put together. And I can do a small refinery to prove the concept right. I was stretched, completely stretched. And I'm feeling it still because I've got to pay that. But what is it that keeps you going? Resilience. Farming. Quickly, a minute on farming, because 70% of the population in this country are in farming. I was summoned one time when I said farming is bad business. I was telling the youth, don't get into farming because it's very hard to do. There are too many variables that are outside your control. Too much rain, no rain. Monkeys, wind, people, insects, disease. Too many things, you can't get them all together. But I said, let me try. I had a bit of money. I set up a farm, a big farm, 10 square miles. I bought in everything. Petrol station I put there for the tractors, for my equipment, housing, water, irrigation. And I tried 1 square mile. Looked beautiful one day when I went there. At the end of the day, nothing. I packed that door and I said, do farming as a social impact, as a hobby. I love cows. You go and see them. They are very therapeutic. If you get used to looking at these cows and they really know, oh, the boss is around, you feel good. But farming is very hard. And we've got to get our people out of farming. Especially people who farm like that. That hoe is a terrible instrument to use. And it's mainly women and children who are digging. I one time told our president, make it illegal to use a hoe in the country. He looked at me, you're crazy. Yes, to have a pistol as a senior person or whatever, you have to get you go through so many processes to get a permit for a pistol. Make it as hard as that to justify why you should be given a hoe. Otherwise, force the people to come together. They have to use the tractor. In 10 minutes, it will have done the whole land, tilled all the land of the whole community. Lastly, as I come to the end, I want to tell you that do not let where you've come from affect where you are going. Set your goals, your objectives, and try as hard as possible to achieve them. You can fine-tune the tactics along the way, but you can achieve so much in one lifetime. All you have to do is be focused and have that inner resilience. Keep trying. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. You can if you're determined. And that's what's our biggest loss. I see so many young people, they come around you, they want to take pictures with you. That will not help you. What will help you is building that inner resilience. It's there. It's gold. That metal. Use it and you'll achieve anything. Just because your parents are not privileged doesn't mean you'll not be privileged. Just because you've had a lot of hardship. I lost my dad when we lost everything. They took our house, our clothes. We walked out as we are. I changed my name. A Catholic priest took me in. I couldn't pay school fees. I had to start hustling. I built it. I can do whatever I want when I want. You want to go anywhere in the world, business class, first class, you can go there. It's your decision. But it's up to you to change and have that right mindset, a mindset of abundance. Everything is out there. There are so many needs. All they want is an efficient delivery system. Thank you very much.